So going through the shifters for aggregate demand, the way to look at this is just like when we did a regular demand curve in chapter 4. There were factors out there that could shift the demand curve when it was something other than the actual prices in the economy. So when we had the demand curve shifting to the right before in chapter 4, it would be like incomes go up, consumers' trends change, anything besides the price that could affect demand could shift the curve. Well, here, anything besides the price levels in the economy that affects the overall aggregate demand. So, something besides the price levels that maybe increases the consumption in the economy or investment in the economy, government spending in the economy, or net exports in the economy can all shift aggregate demand to the right. And if any of these things decrease, then aggregate demand could go to the left. So just a quick example that would be real easy to see would be a scenario where, let's say, the government decides to spend more. Well, if the government decides to spend more, that's something regardless of the price levels in the economy that causes more demand for goods and services because the government's spending and buying up goods and services, and the aggregate demand curve would kick over to the right. Over here, this is giving an example of saying stock market's booming, people feel wealthier, they're optimistic about the future. Then people are optimistic and they feel wealthier, they tend to consume more. So shifting aggregate demand to the right. So the aggregate demand curve can shift around just like a traditional demand curve. So what can increase the overall demand in the economy? Well, there's some things that can increase the consumption component of aggregate demand. So if there's an increase, booming stock market, demand for goods and services go to the right, vice versa if it's a crash in the market. If people prefer to consume more versus savings, so if you have a scenario where current consumption, people all of a sudden feel like they want to value current consumption more, that could increase aggregate demand. If people feel that they want to save more for the future, then aggregate demand could decrease. Tax hikes, cuts, lower taxes, consumers have more money, they buy more goods and services. Higher taxes, aggregate demand would go to the left. Consumers would feel wealthier, or excuse me, feel poorer if taxes were higher. So that's pretty intuitive. Investment. If all of a sudden people feel optimistic as the economy improves or something like that, that can increase their overall investment by businesses. Low interest rates can increase investment. Monetary policy, adjusting the interest rates in the economy, raising or lowering them by the Federal Reserve can change the investment in the economy. And then governmental policy that might encourage investment, like tax write-offs for businesses or something like that. So you could see how this could change the investment component and shift the aggregate demand curve around. Government spending. You increase any kind of government spending that adds to the aggregate demand. Reduction in government spending would decrease the aggregate demand in the economy. Then this is kind of interesting how economies are doing in around the world, right? Foreign countries. If foreign economy is booming, then net exports tends to increase. They buy more of our stuff. If they're in a recession, then they probably buy fewer goods and services, and net exports would shift to the left, or aggregate demand would shift to the left, I should say. And then this currency one, if you have appreciation or depreciation in currencies, so if it's one of those things where the U.S. currency appreciates against other ones, well, if the U.S. currency appreciates, it becomes more valuable than other currencies, and that means all U.S. goods become relatively expensive, and that decreases the aggregate demand. If the U.S. currency depreciates, so all of a sudden foreigners' currencies now are more valuable, then that increases the aggregate demand for goods and services from the United States. So if basically you have a depreciation in your currency, that can increase your net exports, increasing aggregate demand. And that's something that they're always, when they talk about China depreciating its currency, that's an attempt to make what? Made in China seem relatively cheap. People buy more made in China, and then the aggregate demand for the Chinese increases. So we've seen that. So you can kind of see what will shift around the aggregate demand curve. Anything other than price, just like regular demand, can shift the curve. And there's a lot of factors out there besides price that can change the overall aggregate demand. Factors that affect consumption, factors that affect business spending or investment, government spending, and then the other component, net exports.